A month after the horrifying events of the 14th of June, and a clearer picture of how the London Fire Brigade responded to the Grenfell Tower fire has begun to emerge. Last week, Newsnight reported that the first high ladder, or aerial, arrived 31 minutes after the first fire engine. London has now changed its predetermined attendance, what it would automatically send to a high-rise fire, to include a high ladder as an interim measure. But how would other fire services have reacted to a similar fire in a high-rise building? We contacted every fire service in the country to ask what their predetermined attendance was to a fire in a tower block. We found that 70% of fire services would have sent an aerial ladder, this is before Grenfell remember, to any high-rise fire. Several fire services have changed their policy to include an aerial ladder to any reported fire, including Manchester and London. However, 9 fire services, including Tyne and Wear, Leicestershire, Kent, Lancashire and Cambridgeshire, won't send an aerial ladder in the first instance. The crux of the problem is this. The same fire in the same tower block elicits wildly different responses from fire services across the country. Now take this building behind me. It's a high-rise building in Essex, and if there's a fire here, the first response of the local fire service won't be to send a high ladder, whereas in neighbouring Suffolk, they will. Lauren Irish is a community nurse who cares for a resident inside the tower block.
At the end of the day, it's a tower block. You hear that it's on fire. Why wouldn't you send the highest ladder you've got to get them out quicker, rather than just sending a little one? What's that going to do? You know, who's going to reach the top floor? It's not fair. So that's my opinion on it. It's not. No, I wouldn't like to be on the top floor.
Essex Fire Service say that they have inspected all of their high-rise buildings post-Grenfell and that no changes to their response plans are needed. Sally Leavesley led the review to modernise fire services in Queensland, Australia.
An aerial ladder is now essential for all tower fires in this country following Grenfell, and the response time will have to be arranged so that it is well and truly within 15 minutes. Any new policy about aerial ladders must also take account of what numbers are needed, because there may not be enough to really adequately provide the risk that we now know is with these buildings throughout the country.
The differences in predetermined attendances between various fire rescue services go beyond whether they send an aerial ladder or not. For example, Kent sends out 3 fire engines to a reported tower block fire, whereas in neighbouring Surrey, the same tower block fire gets 6 fire engines, an aerial ladder and a command support team. A London Fire Brigade spokesman told Newsnight,
"It is important to understand that fires in high-rise buildings are nearly always dealt with internally, not usually needing an aerial appliance. The fundamental issue of high-rise safety remains that buildings are maintained to stop fires spreading."
Few could have foreseen what happened at Grenfell, but after the disaster, questions have to be asked about whether there should be a national minimum attendance to a high-rise fire. Can it be right that your postcode dictates what kind of response the fire services will deliver?